Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Today, we're going to be diving into the crucial topic of leveraging AI to proactively manage IT issues before they impact the users. And so our discussion really aims to explore the innovative strategies to enhance the digital employee experience and really ensuring that technology serves as a bridge rather than a barrier between IT operations and the user experience. Now, before I get in and introduce our speakers, I just wanted to say we have a live Q&A going on right now at the bottom of your screen. Please put in your questions. We have some technical experts that will be answering your questions, and we'll have a small Q&A session at the end of this presentation. So with that, let me go ahead and get started. So firstly, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sid Bascara. I'm a product marketing manager here at 1E, and we're joined by my colleague, Freddie, who's a principal product manager and responsible kind of for our AI offerings. So let's start with the foundation of any successful digital employee experience. It's our understanding and rapport with the end users. So in our quest to prioritize the digital employee experience, it's essential to maintain a consistent understanding of our end users. So this understanding is the cornerstone of a successful DEX strategy, providing invaluable insights into the digital workplace from the user's perspective. And by focusing on the user, we really ensure that our IT strategies and solutions are aligned with their needs and expectations, and really fostering a productive and satisfying work environment. So with this user-centered approach in mind, we face the inevitable challenge of navigating the complex landscape of user feedback. So in dealing with user feedback, we often observe its fickle nature. So actions we take may leave some users satisfied, some indifferent, and others still wishing for more, questioning why improvements weren't more significant. This leads us to that pivotal question. How do we interpret such varied feedback? Are they negative reactions representative of a widespread sentiment, or are they just a vocal minority? And these questions become even more challenging to address when user experience plays a secondary role in critical IT decisions. So as we strive to balance the intricate demands of IT infrastructure, compliance, and budget, understanding the true nature of user feedback is crucial. And it's really about discerning whether we're facing a persistent issue that really affects the entire user estate or responding to a small segment with louder voices. And this understanding will guide us in making informed decisions with our user base while adhering to the operational constraints that IT is bounded by. So having recognized the varied responses user satisfactions can really elicit, we must now turn to the mechanisms through which we receive this feedback. The tools at our disposal have their own sets of limitations that we need to navigate. So we confront the user feedback challenges head on. So our reliance on third-party survey tool has its limitations. So this could be anything such as sending a Qualtrics survey or using SurveyMonkey, or even here at 1E within our sentiment module, we can push out surveys. And this often provides a narrow window into user sentiment. And these tools can lead to a skewed understanding of user reactions, which may not accurately represent the collective user experience. And moreover, feedback loops with these methods are slow, which can leave IT professionals blindsided without a clear picture of these user experiences in real time. The existing feedback mechanisms then fall short. They tend to be reactive, giving us information after the fact, and can be characterized by vague responses that offer little actionable insight. So our objective is to really refine these mechanisms, making them more responsive, precise, and ultimately more predictive of user needs. So in conclusion, and having explored the challenges of capturing and interpreting user feedback, we must now consider the solutions. So how do we address the slow feedback loops and the vague responses that leave IT in the dark? The key is innovation and a forward-thinking approach. With that, I'll hand it over to Freddie, who will really unveil our vision for not only overcoming these challenges, but transforming them into opportunities for really proactive, user-centric, and autonomous IT strategy. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Freddie.
Cool. Thank you, Sid. And also thank you for the introduction earlier on as well. So I think just to firstly comment a little bit on what Sid's been talking about, all of these, technologies that we're talking about today, DEX, end user compute, fundamentally, a big part of that, of course, is, managing machines, keeping them compliant, making sure that they work. But when you think about DEX, it's all about end users fundamentally, and end user compute has user at the center. So fundamentally, these are tools that aren't just about keeping tools working and computers functioning. It's around serving those end users and helping them be as productive and have a good experience as possible. So before I dive into the kind of the One Intelligence piece, I just want to comment as well around how this is really, part of the overarching roadmap, and really a key term that we're kind of rallying around is this term autonomous DEX. Which is really an extension of the kind of shift left methodology that we've been working towards here at 1E for a number of years now, and really using AI to take that to the next level. So a term which we're using for a lot of our capabilities is hybrid edge AI, and that's where we're using, first and foremost, we're using AI in the cloud, various different technologies for analyzing and, producing predictions and highlighting trends. And I'll go into detail about that and what we're doing there in a second, but also deploying that technology to the edge as well. Because a key thing that 1E does really well, and we've done it for years, is being able to remediate problems at scale on the edge in real time. And the key benefits of that are numerous. It means first and foremost, it's really fast. If a problem happens, we can identify it and fix it immediately. There's no connection up to the cloud. And of course, there's other many use cases as well, like it works offline as well. So even if a network goes down, we can still crack on and fix those problems. Three key terms which I want to talk about as well very quickly, and I'll refer to them a little bit later on, are drift, friction, and frustration. And these are really three core concepts to our AI strategy. So firstly, there's drift, which is effectively, unplanned change in your operating environment. So, a user going rogue and installing an application or registry keys changing. There's friction, which is performance issues. And then there's frustration, which is, end user negative sentiment. And really this concept of autonomous DEX is around, continuing that shift left methodology, including to the edge, where we're able to, use AI to intercept that drift and also that friction, and almost act like an early warning system to prevent that end user frustration happening in the first place. And as Sid mentioned earlier, let's talk about the solution. So, moving on to 1E Intelligence, if we just go to the next slide, this is really how we're going to be, spearheading efforts here to really move towards that autonomous DEX future vision. So what is 1E Intelligence? So 1E Intelligence is effectively a number of capabilities that we're developing here at 1E. The key thing here is it's not just going to be a siloed capability or product. It's really going to be part of the whole, portfolio, really. AI is going to be key to our product strategy moving forwards. And as I mentioned earlier, the key goal here is to, help intercept, drift and friction to prevent that end user frustration, but also to equip you, whether you're a business leader or a people manager in like a service team or a technician, to get on top of these problems and fix them as effectively as possible, ideally before it results in big problems occurring, escalated issues, and users really getting frustrated. So with 1E Intelligence, there's 2 or 3 capabilities we're going to take you through today. So if we go to the next slide, so the first one is really intelligent sentiment. So as Sid was talking about earlier, users are really at the center of all of this, right? We provide technology for humans to use. And as you mentioned, there are significant gaps or problems with the current solutions we have on the market. When we think about measuring sentiment today, it's things like surveys or focus groups or, traffic light responses when support tickets get closed. And of course, I don't want to say these add no value. These all add tremendous value. Like, we don't think traditional surveys should go away, but we're looking at how we can use AI to augment these. And so intelligent sentiment is really deploying AI to the edge to look at, the huge amounts of device telemetry that we gather with the 1E clients, along with user interaction data, to actually predict what that user sentiment might be without actually having to do a traditional survey. So you get that situational awareness and understanding of, what people's sentiment levels are, that finger on the pulse, without having to think about, impacting their productivity by doing a survey or having to plan it out. It's just kind of persisting there in the background. And of course, the other benefit here as well is we are linking that to data. So you kind of eradicate that problem of subjectivity with traditional surveys, because we can predict the survey and we can link it back to data points around why we think their sentiment might be negative. So really excited about this. I'll talk about it a bit more in a demo in a second. But I want to do a quick shout out to the engineering, cloud engineering data science team as well, because we've recently filed a patent for this, which I think, really highlights the efforts and the innovation that's gone into this so far. In terms of the infrastructure and the architecture behind this, so really, I think a key thing here is that bit around the 1E client. So we've developed a machine learning model that we're deploying down to the edge, and that means that it can analyze all this data, so device telemetry, user interaction data on the device itself, and look for any kind of event or anomaly which indicates, for example, poor sentiment. And that means it's really quite fast. It's not impacting network latency significantly. And then, when it does detect something, we have a pipeline that goes into the 1E intelligence repository, which is in our Elastic SaaS cloud. And we use that for a number of use cases. So it could be as part of the product that we're building to show you what the sentiment is, and also, of course, as part of the model training that we do as part of our R&D efforts. So that's a quick summary of the architecture and 1E intelligent sentiment. And I'll go through that in a bit more detail in a demo in a second. The second main capability I want to talk about is intelligent insights. And so, as Sid was referring to earlier, a key thing here isn't just highlighting problems. It's also solving them as well and helping you prioritize which ones to work on. So, intelligent insights is really us building almost a control tower or an early warning system. So when you think about the 1E platform today, we do a great job of helping people prioritize what to work on and how to fix it. And this is really using AI to evolve that, to really highlight trends that we detect in the data streams that we think are going to correlate with some kind of negative experience outcome, for example, and highlighting those. But it's not just about highlighting those trends. We're also using different types of AI and other kind of data analysis to really take us to the next level and help you fix those problems. And I'll show it in the demo in a second, but that includes things like providing a human readable description of the data and problems that we found, providing troubleshooting and root cause analysis guidance, and also making clear recommendations on what to do next, including how to leverage the 1E platform in terms of troubleshooting and diagnosing those problems, or actually deploying a fix there and then, whether it's a one-off fix or a policy that can fix it forever. So I'll show that more in a demo in a second as well. And in terms of the architecture, again, it's really exciting stuff. Firstly, we're leveraging the power of the 1E client and the sort of data that we're able to gather there. Of course, it can gather a lot of data. And then we're developing this intelligent generation service effectively as part of the 1E intelligence repository, where we're basically looking at all this data from all these devices. And the key thing here is we're not building a traditional alerting service. So, as a DEX admin, you're not going to be necessarily interested if a single user potentially has an issue on their machine. You're interested in emerging problems which might impact a large number of users, and also something that's going to be frustrating them as well. So just talking about the sentiment piece again, and that's where we're looking at trends across numbers of devices, so a little bit more meta than the single device alert service, and then surfacing that to you and helping you fix it, as I described earlier. Other elements to this diagram, so I mentioned their sentiment. So we want to link in to that sentiment piece that we're building as well, because of course, understanding of this issue is frustrating to users is going to be critical in terms of prioritizing which problems you want to work on and fix first. And also we are leveraging some generative AI as part of this capability as well, just because it's fantastic technology in terms of, helping summarize problems and help you understand them faster. But also it's really good when properly engineered to suggest and recommend what to do next and how to fix that problem. And then the third capability I'll talk about as well is the One E Assistant. So really exciting capability that we showcased recently at a Gartner conference, where this is really building on top of those first two capabilities for two key use cases. The first one is, making it easier for technicians to leverage the power of the One E platform. So when you think about the amount of data we gather about devices, their operating systems, their patch status, any kind of issues on their devices, really leveraging the power of that. So if a user is, trying to investigate one of those insights, there's potentially a problem, they can use the One E Assistant to, do additional diagnostics, grab relevant data points that might help them make a decision. But also the second use case, which is effectively a matchmaking service, helping people leverage the One E platform for remediating problems at scale in real time. So almost being like an SME, like your best technician ever, to really help you get the most out of the platform and fix those problems as effectively as possible. So what I'll do now is just sort of share my screen and take you through it, because I think nothing beats a live demo. So Sid, there we go. Let me just share my screen. Make sure I'm sharing the correct screen. Cool. Sid, can you see my screen okay?
It's still loading right now. Yep, we're all good.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Cool. So yeah, this is the One Intelligence Early Access. So couple of caveats I'll mention. I have got promises from an engineering team that they're not going to deploy a build or take it down during the demo, but you know how it is with a live demo. So if it goes down, I did warn you. The second thing really, and I'll talk about this at the end, is this is early access. So we are still building this. We're working with customers and other partners to develop this. So it's still very much in progress. And also I'm going to put it in dark mode because this is really too bright for my liking. So firstly, intelligent insights, which I was talking about just then. This is what we've got so far for that. So firstly, it's a really fantastic dashboard where what it does is when you log in, it helps you understand what emerging problems should I be paying attention to and considering, prioritizing and going and fixing those problems. So in this example, I've got 18 insights impacting a total of 96 users. We're using AI to intelligently look at those insights and actually understand, okay, what's the user impact going to be and what's the criticality around that? So what's the impact on their user experience? And then below, I can start seeing this list of insights that we've generated. So as I mentioned, that's one of the key goals of this. We want to be helping inform you what are some emerging problems that you should be paying attention to, based on the number of users impacted and how impactful it is on their user experience. So let's click on into one. So we've got a high priority insight here. So it's around operating system crashes. So just to go over, what we're showing here. Firstly, this is based on analysis across many machines. So in this case, it's 10 devices impacted. And we've been looking at a lot of data here. So firstly, we provide a very concise human readable description of what we found. And then we kind of start leading you towards the path of, okay, next steps in terms of, verifying if there's a problem and then deploying a fix. So firstly, we highlight, potential root causes. So what might be causing those operating system crashes. We've also got a section here around the user experience impact. And so this is really thinking a little bit broader about how do you solve these problems? Because it isn't just pushing a script, it's the problem management piece or the incident management piece. You might need to communicate with your end users to let them know that you're aware of this, you're aware of the impact on their productivity, and that you're fixing it. And so this helps to keep that user impact front and center. And then, of course, we've got the recommendations or remediations piece down here. So firstly, this will provide recommendations on, what to do next in terms of just how to manage a problem effectively, but also specific remediation guidance as well. So again, it's work in progress, but in this example, these are actually instructions I've got in my account. So if I went to endpoint troubleshooting, I could go and run those instructions and start taking action on this problem immediately. So you can see here how what we've done so far is we have a service that, detects these emerging problems and then uses, various analytical techniques and some generative AI to present it to you in a way that's immediately actionable. You can verify if that's an issue or not and start taking action almost immediately, start investigating and solving that problem. Just on that as well, so, and how this ties into the One E assistant. Again, I was talking about those two key use cases, and this is something that we'll be building in very tightly with Intelligent Insights to really almost help you talk to your insights. So that first use case, which we're talking about in terms of interrogating your data to really, understand, different correlating variables and help you get more context, but also understanding what's going to be a good script, for example, to run on those machines to fix that problem. So in this case, I can say, I need help with OS crashes. And what this will do is it'll provide some guidance and then it will link me to different instructions I've got in my account that will help me start investigating or even fixing this. So we can see here, it's recommending what I should do very concisely. And then these are actual instructions in my account that I can go and deploy on those devices to either gather more diagnostic data or actually go fix that problem as well. The last bit I'll talk about very quickly is really intelligent sentiment. So the key thing here is this capability, we don't want it to be separate to everything else. It's really going to be tightly integrated into Intelligent Insights. But we do want to make sure we have a separate area for it, just so you can get overall visibility on people's sentiment. So as we can see here, we have effectively a dashboard which shows how that sentiment is showing over time. So the key sort of finger on the pulse in terms of, are people frustrated at work? Are they not frustrated at work? And we're also doing some experimental things as well with some of the customers that we're working with, where we're actually analyzing some free text data relating to traditional sentiment methodology, so like surveys, to actually start looking at how we can create insights here as well. So in this example, in top common problems, we're actually looking at that free text data from traditional surveys to understand, okay, what valuable insights can we get out of this data as well? Because of course, analyzing that traditionally it is, fairly time consuming across a number of responses. So that's a quick demo of what we've built so far. Again, really exciting stuff. It's been great working with a number of customers on this already. And what I'll do now is I will stop sharing, and Sid, we will hand it back over to you.
Are you able to see my presentation up, Freddie?
I am, yes. Thank you for bringing the deck back up. Okay, cool. So I think first and foremost, hopefully that really sort of illustrated the work we're currently doing. What I want to do now is just spend a few minutes sort of tying that back to the problem that we were initially talking about to really kind of give an understanding of the direction we're going here. So firstly, just to go back to those three words I was talking about earlier, so drift, friction, and user frustration. So drift is really around, unplanned change in your operating environment. So, users installing an app or, doing something out of policy, for example, so unplanned change. And so an example here is, someone goes and installs a collaboration app that they're not authorized to use. Friction is, performance issues. So an example here would be a user installs an application and their device is really not set up to run that application well. They haven't got enough RAM, for example, and so they start experiencing performance issues. And then, of course, that causes user frustration. So these three concepts are really key. And if we just go to the next slide, I'm just going to talk through, again, like how these are all tying together to really provide, the best outcome for you and your business. So I think the first thing to really recognize here is that user frustration and kind of any kind of friction or drift, it has an impact on the business and its bottom line. And so the key thing here, first and foremost, is any kind of friction in your digital environment is going to result in some kind of business friction. So for example, things like application crashes, as I was talking about, they are not only frustrating, but they are directly impactful on user productivity as well. If my application crashes, I can't work, I'm waiting for it to reboot. And of course, if I get annoyed enough, I am going to be creating service desk tickets and waiting for those to get fixed. And of course, that starts consuming the service desk time as well. So we can really see how this friction is really important. It's just not something that people have to accept. And the other key thing here, if we go to the next slide, is that again, it's all about the user. So if we look at really traditional approaches to end user compute, it's all about the device and it doesn't really consider the user. And so our approach here is to make sure that we remain as user-centric as possible, because of course they're the people making the tickets. The computers don't make the tickets. And so that's where intelligent sentiment makes sure that, if they are frustrated, if there is an emerging problem and it is frustrating users, it gets the attention it deserves, not a potential problem which people don't perhaps care about because it's not interrupting them, it's not frustrating them. And again, that correlation is key, not only for helping understand, okay, what is causing that intelligent sentiment, but also as we develop this technology, actually being able to predict and intercept that negative sentiment as well, because we're building up a body of data where we can see patterns that cause negative sentiment. And so we can start preempting it and saying, oh, you're perhaps going to make a change, or you've just deployed a change. We think it's going to cause negative sentiment, so perhaps you should change your course of action. So moving on, again, I guess just to hammer this home, when you think about traditional support tickets, not all support tickets are going to be equal as well. And this is again where we move to those intelligent insights. When you think about traditional service desk workflows, you get multitudes of instances, raised by end users. We have to remember that users tend to raise tickets only after they've experienced an issue sort of 5 or 6 times. And then it's a manual process to understand which are related to which tickets. Is there a problem here that needs to be managed? And insights is really kind of leapfrogging that to an extent in terms of, providing an early warning system that raises those problems to your attention before those tickets have been created in volume. And the key benefit there, there's multiple. First, it means that you can take action on those issues and those problems before they're impacting users, potentially even before they're aware of it. But of course, it also provides that benefit to the service desk in terms of they're not going to be deluged by a huge number of tickets that need to be sifted through. And then I think the next point is really around the engineer side of it as well. So this is really around remediation and recommendations, but also that one assistant which I was showing, which is equipping you with tools that are, a subject matter expert in everything that one can do in terms of real-time remediation at scale across your devices, and empowering you to leverage, the right tool at the right time. So assisting with that root cause analysis, recommending what troubleshooting steps you can make, and also helping you benefit from the wealth of, instructions and scripts that we've built up over time, which, as it says here, we've got around 3,000 already. And then I think the last bit around this is, actually deploying that to the device. And if we go back to the beginning, we talked about that concept of autonomous decks, because the goal here is not to have to react to problems and fix them once. It's all about fixing them forever. And that's where really we're looking to reap the benefits of this hybrid edge AI concept, where we can actually, deploy these policies to the edge, learn how they're working in the environment, and to make sure that, at the end of the day, you're getting the best outcome from that automation. I can see that we're running out of time, so I'm gonna go on to, yes, the early access bit. Thank you, Sid, for saving me there. So I think the key thing here before we move into any questions or the Q&A is, as I mentioned, we're already working with a number of customers on this, and it's been absolutely fantastic getting feedback. But I work in products, and that means I always want more feedback. So if you're interested in getting involved in One Intelligence and the early access program, please do reach out. There's a number of benefits. Firstly, you get access to new functionality, so you can get to grips with it, and you can understand, how we're building this out. You get to work directly with the One Intelligence team, and that means that you get, more influence in terms of, what we're building, and you can work directly with us on that. And of course, it means that you can improve your own business objectives as well. You all have your own KPIs and goals you want to achieve, and you can start achieving them very soon with artificial intelligence. Sid, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Freddie. Thanks for that great presentation on One Intelligence. And lastly, I just wanted to kind of end with some more collateral that we've created to get more in depth into One Intelligence. So please scan our QR code so you get access to our ebook where we go in depth into all the capabilities around One Intelligence. And then again, as Freddie mentioned, please contact our or your account team to learn more about how you can get involved with One Intelligence. And with that, Freddie, I think we have a couple questions here that we should tackle, and then we can sign off. The first one, Freddie, is when is One Intelligence entering early access?
That's a great question. It's entering early access now. So, yeah, as we mentioned earlier, if you're interested, please reach out. As it says on the slide, reach out to your account team, so your account manager, your customer success manager. And effectively, the key thing here is this early access program is incredibly popular, as you can imagine. So there is a wait list. So that means if you're interested, you should reach out to your team today, and then you'll be as high up the list as possible.
Perfect. And then, ooh, this is a really good one around responsible AI. How do you ensure you're doing AI responsibly?
Yeah, that's a really fantastic question, and it's actually an important question as well. So I'm glad that someone asked. So effectively, we have a policy and a framework around this, like any modern software vendor, and that's built around 4 or 5 main areas. So firstly, safety and security. Of course, with software development, we follow methodologies like secure by design, and we have various compliances like SOC 2. But really with AI, because of the profound consequences, we've taken that to the next level to make sure that we are really, really cautious in many respects because of how potent it can really be. Privacy and data governance, for many reasons, but apart from anything else, we are building things ourselves as well in many cases. So doing R&D, and we have got agreements with some customers where, we're training using their data. And that means we need to, develop a new privacy and data governance framework to make sure that we're managing that. So for example, if we're training on some data, we no longer use it, that we securely destroy it, those kind of things. Transparency and explainability. So transparency is making sure that we make it very clear if any feature on the One platform is using AI, because people just need to know. And also explainability. So everything that I showed you today, we want it to be as explainable as possible. So not a black box. We want you to be able to drill in and understand how the AI functionality is working under the hood and making those decisions or making those predictions. And lastly, accountability. We want to make sure that we're constantly monitoring our AI services and our AI pipelines to make sure we're still achieving the outcomes that we want from them.
And then last question for you, Freddie. What AI does One Intelligence use?
That's a great question. So fundamentally, it uses multiple different AI technologies. So there's some AI technology that we're using that we developed largely in-house. So for example, the prediction AI that we have deployed to the edge, or the causal AI. We also use generative AI. So currently we use OpenAI as part of our Azure partnership. So it's all included as part of that Azure instance. So it's been very good working with Microsoft on that. But truly, I mean, we're using a number of different methods, whether that is, clustering, decision trees, different forms of regression. A key thing around this is, we're experimenting as well. We're building this functionality because we've decided that, it is going to solve a problem and add value to you as our customers. But also the AI, problem space continues to shift, and there's technologies coming online pretty much every day. So we're keeping our eyes open as well to make sure that we're still experimenting with new technologies just to understand what their capabilities really are.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Freddie. Thanks for answering those questions. And thank you to all of those who attended our webinar today. Again, if you guys want more information, we have a whole bunch of collateral on the One website around One Intelligence. And again, feel free to reach out to your account team to kind of find out how you guys can get involved with early access of One Intelligence. And yeah, thanks everyone for your time. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.